Did I struggle in school? Yes. My parents actually gave up on me by grade 3. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I didn't understand multiplication or division. If we were still living in the times where kids either went to school or they worked out on the field, I would have benefited better from working in the fields, gaining hands-on learning experiences. I have had to change my writing process now that I understand that my brain processes information differently from other writers. Hello, my lovelies. Because my video on how to complete a writing project as a neurodivergent writer was a big hit on this channel, I thought I would make a vlog on what it's actually like to live without a diagnosis, what it's like to be a neurodivergent writer, and how I actually complete my writing projects with ADHD. My hope is that this information will inspire you, especially if you struggle to read and write, if you struggle to even complete a writing project for many reasons, but you also yearn to become a published writer, because I know the struggle. Before we get started, if you're new to this channel, hi, welcome. My name is Lysa. I am a writer, ex-teacher, and mother of 2. I also work a 9 to 5, but I like to squeeze in time to do some writing and content creation in order to help you guys and to inspire you to keep dreaming and to keep writing, and most of all, to keep my sanity. On the topic of being a neurodivergent writer, I learned way late in life that I have ADHD, which stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Disorder makes it sound like there's something wrong with us and you should all just stay away, but it's really just a label to help us better understand the functionality of our brains. Those of us who have ADHD fall under this umbrella of what's known as being neurodivergent. Now, I won't go into detail on what that is because I've already made a video on that, so feel free to go back and watch that. In short, being neurodivergent just means that folks like myself process information differently. Think of it as you have your typical learners and your atypical learners. For instance, I am a kinesthetic learner. I learn better by being able to move around and touch and feel and interact with things and also ask a lot of questions in order to comprehend better. So, did I struggle in school? Yes. My parents actually gave up on me by grade 3. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I didn't understand multiplication or division. I pretty much struggled with everything in school and didn't understand the whole of school. And why? Because the learning environment was not right for me. I personally believe that if we were still living in the times where kids either went to school or they worked out on the field, I would have benefited better from working in the fields, gaining hands-on learning experiences, rather than sitting in a classroom, doing some rote memorization, and learning at a desk all day. I also couldn't stay put when at home. If my family was watching a movie, I was like up and down, moving around, moving in my seat, in and out of the room. I couldn't even finish watching the movie. I remember just coming to sit down and watch a bit of the movie, going to the next room, coming back to watch a bit, and going to the next room. Definitely could not finish a movie. I also remember my mom just constantly yelling at me and comparing me to my siblings who did a much better job at school than myself, and that didn't help me either. However, I powered through. I had some very understanding aunts and uncles. I did a lot of sleepovers with my cousins just so that I could be a kid. And I also had some very supportive teachers in school. And with their support, I was able to complete high school with a 3.5 GPA. I was the first kid in my family to complete college. I started a teaching career. And now I work for a very big library system and I get to write. I honestly only got through school due to the support of my teachers. And coincidentally, I also became a teacher myself. I really loved building a bond with my students and having a classroom full of my own children. I've always loved kids and I've always wanted my own children, so my students were my first children. However, the paperwork, the constant meetings, all the testing, it was all just very ridiculous. And not to mention, there are some very lazy teachers in the field, and I didn't believe in all of these so-called methods to measure student success. I experienced a lot of burnout during my time in teaching, and I eventually left. The last straw for me were these constant migraines that I kept getting. It was pretty much a death scare. I knew a teacher acquaintance who went home one day from teaching because she was struggling with a migraine, and no one ever saw her again. She passed away. Although I don't remember what the cause was, the migraines were a sign that something was wrong. And so when I was going through these constant migraines, I grew scared and I called it quits. I wanted to live. I wanted to have my own kids, and that's what I do now. I work a job that I love. I get to write. I also have two beautiful babies. Too bad my husband doesn't want any more kids. Maybe I'll be 50 with my third baby. So that's my background on what it was and still like to live without a diagnosis, to struggle and push through with ADHD. School was really hard for me and I didn't get direct family support, but I do believe that the Lord played a big role in pushing me through and placing just amazing, spectacular people into my life. And I know that not everybody gets such blessings, so I use my gifts and my blessings to help other children. And now I use this channel to help you guys. I have to say, I've always been jealous of other writers because they can start and finish a writing project. I mean, I work at a library, I'm surrounded by books every day, and I wish that my name was on some of those. I also watch fellow writer YouTubers, and so many of them can just start a writing vlog by saying, I want to write this many words today, let's get started. And they do. For myself, it's, I want to edit Project Emily today. And it turns into, I wrote a blog post, I did some reading, I got distracted by my phone, let's go make tea, all in one video attempt. However, I do finish my writing projects. My process is just a little different. As a matter of fact, I have had to change my writing process now that I understand that my brain processes information differently from other writers. I've been writing since I was 12 to 13 years old, and I actually started as a pantser. This means that I sat down and write on the figurative seams of my pants. Whatever came to mind went down on paper from page one to page whatever. And this method actually proved unsuccessful because I would eventually lose momentum and then I would just give up on the full writing project. Therefore, I have boxes and USBs full of unfinished writing projects. During the start of the COVID pandemic, I discovered Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. Brody's book and course teaches you how to plot a novel using a beat sheet. And this completely changed my writing because now I'm a plotter. I plot my writing projects, and then while I'm writing, I do some tweaking if my writing decides to take a turn in a different direction. For Project Emily, I am actually using a beat sheet, and then for my novella series, I use a list of events. And this is because Project Emily is a full-length novel, and the series are novellas. Plotting my books have actually helped me to finish them. Therefore, if you're neurodivergent like myself and you struggle to write, I highly suggest that you use an outline. I do have some lessons on this channel as well as a novel writing kit, so just check out the description box below. If physically writing is tough for you, then use a voice recorder. I do that too. Now let's talk about what my writing process actually looks like. One of the biggest struggles with being a neurodivergent writer is that I struggle to finish a writing project, as stated before. For many years, I struggled with just starting a project. I would plan it out in my head, create outlines, and then I would write nothing. Or I would start something and then never finish it. And this cycle would repeat itself. To combat this cycle, I now do some very specific things, and these steps and this method has actually helped me to finish and publish two novellas, and I am now on the third installment. So this is a tried and true method. I want to walk you through this process, especially if you are a neurodivergent writer and you struggle to start and complete a writing project, such as myself. So, we are going to use Mr. Darcy's Christmas Wish to help you, and let's get started. The first step is to start with a title. For this novella, I already had the title in mind, which is Mr. Darcy's Christmas Wish. If I didn't have a title, I would use an alias, such as Project Darcy, and then I would worry about the title later. The second step is to create a story idea. A story idea is pretty much just 2 to 3 sentences about what the story would be about. In this case, the story idea for Mr. Darcy's Christmas Wish is Lizzie and Darcy have known each other for a couple years. Their families are well acquainted, but neither get along. Darcy's aunt demands he finds a wife sooner than later. Because Darcy's friend and Lizzie's sister are engaged, the two must interact and they slowly start falling for each other. It's not perfect, but it reminds me of why I'm writing this story and keeps me accountable and on track. The third step is to choose the characters. In this case, we have Darcy and Lizzie. There's also the whole Bennet family as a whole. There is Darcy's best friend Bingley. There is also Lady Catherine de Bourgh, to name a few. By the way, if you haven't caught on, this novella was actually a fanfiction writing challenge that I gave myself. It is based off of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice world. The fourth step is to determine the themes that the characters must learn. Now, generally, the theme or the lesson is only for the main character, but I want both of my characters to learn and grow, so each of them have their own theme. For Darcy, it's not clearly stated, but the contrast is there in the first and last chapter, and then for Lizzie, the theme is stated in one of the chapters. The fifth step is to draft a list of events. Because this novella is shorter, I just create a list of events in chronological order, and then those events eventually become the chapters. The last thing to do, the most obvious step, is to just write. I go back to the first chapter and I include the hook. In this case, it is a conversation between two familiar characters from the original Pride and Prejudice novel. I also include the problem or the dilemma that Darcy must face and solve. And then I introduce the second character and their life and their problems. And I just keep writing to ensure that I'm meeting each of the events or each of the things that must occur in the chapters. Once I've completed the book as a whole, I go back and I delete the events and I leave only the headers and all the information after it. These steps have actually allowed me to finish a novella in 1 week. So in 2 weeks' time, I wrote 2 novellas or 2 books. You could find Mr. Darcy on Amazon and Kobo, and next month will be the prequel with Mr. Bingley. Make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the series and to gain more writing tips and tricks. That's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if it's a little longer than my usual videos. The point of this video is to give you context on what it's like to grow up without a diagnosis of battling ADHD on a daily basis, as well as what it's like to be a neurodivergent writer, and how I actually complete my writing projects. I hope that you learned something and are now inspired to start and finish your book or two. If you need more writing inspiration, check out the videos on the screen and I will see you there. Take care and have fun reading and writing. Bye!